with all the warnings and all the deaths in Victoria, it's hard to believe, or it seems to me that the aged care sector has been let down again.
Well, I don't agree, Peter. The coronavirus obviously is a huge issue for Australia to deal with, but it's not the only problem or issue facing us. And we have to sensibly and maturely balance a number of priorities. And I presume you're referring to the rule change last November, which allowed some workers to work across multiple sites. The problem is if we'd maintained that strict rule, aged care, older Australians would go without care. Because how do aged care facilities otherwise deal with sick days, people who are sick and can't come in? They have to get people from elsewhere. There are sometimes specialist expertise that has to be shared across different institutions. So if there are restrictions, there will be less of the specialist expertise available to older Australians. So there has to be a sensible balance here. So these restrictions on working across multiple sites have been reintroduced in Victoria, given the outbreak there. That's sensible. But while there were no outbreaks of coronavirus, it would have been extremely inequitable, would have been extremely unfair to deny older Australians access to proper aged care expertise because of you're trying to fight a coronavirus that didn't exist in Victoria at the time.
But at the heart of that, I mean, even more important than that is the fact that not all workers have been vaccinated. It was the goal to have all aged care residents and all workers vaccinated by March. It's now June. So isn't that a failure on the government's part?
There's 2 points to make about that. There's a bit of a myth spreading that somehow if all aged care workers had been vaccinated, then this outbreak could have been avoided. But vaccination does not necessarily protect against transmission. Vaccination ensures that, well, most people, the vast majority of people, will not develop severe symptoms that end them up in hospital or worse. It does not necessarily prevent transmission, and that's demonstrated through this outbreak. But whereas my understanding is an aged care worker who had been vaccinated has most likely transmitted the virus to another aged care worker and their son. So that can happen. So even if everyone had been vaccinated, it may not have avoided the situation that is ensuing in Victoria. The other point to make is, look, yes, there have been delays in the vaccination rollout, but the government's been completely upfront about those, and we wish things had gone better to plan. But we can't always get things to plan. There have been interruptions. The vaccination rollout is speeding up rapidly, even before the outbreak, and that's a good thing.
Do you believe that vaccinations should be mandatory for those working in aged care?
No, I don't. I don't want to see a situation where a medical intervention is required for employment choices across the board.
It is for the flu shot. Shouldn't it be for COVID?
Yeah, but the flu shot's well established. I think that this should not be a condition. I'm joined on my understanding last time I saw the union movement of the same mind here, and I agree with the union movement there that you should not make a condition of employment getting this particular vaccine. I think that should be left up to Australians as to choice. And keep in mind what I just said. It's very important. There's a lot of myths out there about the vaccine. The vaccine does not necessarily stop transmission. But of course it does protect the individual, and if an individual decides not to get the vaccine, that is at their risk in that sense and their choice.
Okay, more broadly speaking now, when it comes to Victoria, do you think it's reasonable for Victorians to say, why is it always us?
Look, I suppose like Job in the Bible, there's always that frustration. Why is it always me, God? I haven't led a sinful life. Why are you taking out on me? That's a very deep philosophical question.
That's going deep for a Tuesday morning.
You didn't expect the book of Job there, Peter. But look, look, these things, obviously, there's. I can completely understand the frustrations of Victorians about this. Look, I'm not seeking to blame anyone for this particular outbreak. Obviously, last year's outbreak did occur after some clear deficiencies from the Victorian government. This one probably could have happened anywhere. We're living through a global pandemic. We try and reduce risk to all Australians as much as possible, but we cannot reduce the risk to zero. Look, on the plus side here, let's take a breath. I mean, the number of cases is not exponentially growing yet. Now, that might change, but it's been sticking around this 5 to 10, going up and down each day. That's a positive sign. But look, we don't know where it will go, and I think largely the decisions are being made correctly. I don't know why the whole of regional Victoria is in the same lockdown. That seems against the hotspot definition that the National Cabinet adopted last year. But look, it's right to impose some restrictions here where outbreaks are occurring, and let's hope they can get on top of them.
All right, Matt Canavan, we're out of time, unfortunately. I didn't get to ask you about the Rugby League State of Origin Series 1 going to Townsville, but we can talk about...
we can talk about that after the Maroons win next week.
Yeah, exactly, and I'll be happy with that too. Matt Canavan, good to chat. We'll talk to you soon.